The race to vaccinate nations against COVID is well underway. Pharma firms have delivered 447 million doses to date, every fourth to the US. Many other countries are still waiting, and the global figure's not that good. Only 1.3% of the world population has been fully immunized. Israel was the country that was vaccinating the quickest. We've been reporting on them quite a bit. Now Chile is administering more doses as a percentage of the population. The urgency is there. Case numbers have gone through the roof. We'll talk to a doctor about that in a moment. First, this report.
The sixth plane from China carrying 2 million doses of Sinovac vaccinations against COVID-19 taxis on the runway in Chile's capital, Santiago. Every third Chilean has had their first jab already. That's the kind of vaccination rate that other countries can only dream of.
We are very happy, not only because we fulfilled the needs of the country, but because we can now continue with the higher objective, to have vaccines for 15 million people during the first semester of this year.
Chile is the world's COVID-19 vaccination champion. While the EU makes sluggish progress on inoculation, the country of 19 million on South America's Pacific coast has already caught up with and overtaken vaccine heavyweights like the US and Britain. Chile was quick to get its orders for vaccines in early, from AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer-BioNTech, but also from Sinovac and the Sputnik vaccine. President Sebastián Piñera oversees the vaccination campaign personally. Vaccination centres are everywhere, from parking lots to football stadiums. Nobody has to make an appointment. Anyone who's up for their second shot is also free to walk in and get it. Officials want 80% of the country fully vaccinated by June. That means herd immunity. However, the successful vaccination campaign has yet to translate into a reduction in numbers infected. Daily infections are reaching record highs. Health officials fear the campaign may have inadvertently encouraged people to become complacent about prevention measures and take increased risks.
Alexis Callejas is director of the Millennium Institute on Immunology and Immunotherapy and joins us from the Catholic University of Chile. How has Chile managed to get so quick at vaccinating?
Hi, Ben. Thank you for the interview. My impression is that it's been a really great connection between science and academia, with the government and the private sector, as well as the citizenship, together with the fact that Chile has a long history, a long tradition of vaccination. So we have a very well organized for several decades the vaccination program here for other vaccines. And so vaccines can reach all the way from the north of the country to the south to every small town. So we have a very strong network of healthcare systems that can provide support for the vaccination campaign.
So you reckon that's one of the reasons behind this, that having regular vaccine campaigns for other diseases is behind this success? It is something that's missing in some countries and is said to have led to so much public skepticism about vaccines in general.
Right, so that's one reason. And also, I think another major reason is that based on the science, the research we do here, we were able to establish collaborations, scientific and clinical collaborations with some of the developers of COVID-19 vaccines. And with one of them especially, we were able to establish a supply agreement that was transferred from the academia, from the Catholic University to the government. So the government was able to secure sufficient vaccine doses to get this strong and massive campaign rolling. That, together with a very active and efficient network of vaccination in the country, I think has allowed to move forward very efficiently in terms of vaccinating. But I think the most important point is that the Chilean society is very willing to use vaccines. So they have been the cooperation from the people to the vaccine campaign has been great, and we have already over a third of the population vaccinated.
What about the fact that case numbers are still rising despite
the vaccine drive being so successful?
Well, they kind of overlapped. So the vaccine campaign started really massively early February, and the numbers were rising already in February. It's a post-holiday effect that was seen also in Europe and in the US. We have our summer break from January and February and early March. So the rise of the numbers are probably due to the holiday period, the holiday season, kind of the same situation that has been observed in Europe and in the US. So,
let me just ask, does it have anything to do with reports that the Chinese vaccine is less effective?
Well, there is data from several clinical studies showing that the Sinovac vaccine has efficiency 78% for the severe mild cases and about 100% for the severe cases and 50% for the very mild cases. So we expect these vaccines first to start showing effect on the hospitalization rates and the death rates. The studies in Turkey and Indonesia, the efficacy data showed 91 and 65%. So the efficacy of the vaccine, based on the clinical studies, is between 50 and 100%, depending on the type of the case. So we expect to see that the immunity is able to keep the disease severity reduced. And we're doing also here then a clinical study to check the vaccine, and we have observed so far that about 90% of people show antibodies after 2 weeks after the second dose. So 2 weeks after the second dose, we see that about 90% of the volunteers develop antibodies, and those antibodies are neutralizing.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Alexis Kalergis, Director of the Millennium Institute on Immunology and Immunotherapy. Thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the interview.
Well, the question of vaccine efficacy is a hot-button issue right now. Chile was part of a large trial of AstraZeneca's vaccine, along with Peru and the United States. AstraZeneca says its vaccine is 79% effective after the trial of 30,000 people, which looked to clear the way for the jab to get US approval. But American health officials now say they're worried AstraZeneca may have used outdated information in the trial and may have provided an incomplete view of the efficacy data. The pharma firm is still crunching the latest numbers and says it intends to issue results shortly. And it's that part of the show where Derek Williams answers your questions on the coronavirus.
Do the different vaccines protect people from the long-term effects of COVID-19?
Many patients who contract COVID-19 become what are known as long haulers, or people who have long COVID. There's currently no way to predict who that might affect, although there isn't really an accepted definition for it. Having long COVID basically means you don't return to your previous levels of health even months after SARS-CoV-2 falls below detectable levels in your body. It's affected millions of people who have a wide spectrum of longer-term symptoms, with chronic fatigue, for example, a really regular complaint. There are two big theories for what might be causing it. One is that long COVID happens when the body can't clear out all of the virus or viral fragments left after infection, that basically the virus is able to hide in some people somehow, and that the body goes into a kind of trench warfare mode. The second hypothesis is that long COVID is an unchecked autoimmune response, so an off-the-rails immune system. In some patients, experts say, it could be a combination of both. But there's no doubt that for people suffering long COVID symptoms, the prospect of getting vaccinated must be pretty terrifying. I mean, could getting the shot actually make you feel worse? Well, although I emphasize that we still can't say anything for certain, there are a growing number of anecdotal reports that getting vaccinated appears to be actually helping at least some people with long COVID. We don't know why. One small study in peer review also at least indicates that more long haulers feel better than feel worse after being vaccinated. The problem is, to find out more, we would have to conduct trials where some long haulers get COVID-19 vaccines and others get placebos masquerading as COVID-19 vaccines. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest, in the current climate. Right now, I can only say that the general consensus seems to be that long haulers should also be vaccinated, and some anecdotal reports say it might help with symptoms.
And because we're all in this for the long haul, and not just humans, scientists are racing to protect animals from the coronavirus. They often use the same playbook as for people, like social distancing and health checks, and now vaccines. This month, the San Diego Zoo inoculated several apes with an experimental COVID vaccine intended for pets, making the animals the first non-human primates to be vaccinated. The veterinary pharmaceutical company Zoetis developed the vaccine. San Diego Zoo asked for help in vaccinating other apes after a troop of gorillas tested positive in January. The zoo has gorillas, bonobos and orangutans living indoors, which leaves them more vulnerable to the spread of infection. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and see you again soon.